On today's episode of the Locked On NHL podcast, TikTok, the Oilers are on the clock.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On NHL podcast, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. We are your first listen each and every day, and we are your team each and every day as well. We thank you for tuning in on a daily basis. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episodes, because guess what? The season is here. On today's episode, we talk about the McStension. The McDavid extension, Connor McDavid staying in Edmonton. For now, we'll take a look at what the Oilers need to do to make sure that 2 years turns into more. We'll also talk about the Brawl in Florida. The just absolute fracas between the Panthers and the Lightning. We've seen some discipline handed out. Honestly, I'm surprised there's enough players on either roster to start the season. We'll talk about that. And a nice crop of rookies making the opening night rosters across the league. Which ones have the best chance to make big impacts? My name is Seth Topal, host of Locked On Wilds, joined as always by JD Young of Locked On Sharks. And JD, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. Connor McDavid.
Cam Fowler. Oh, wait. Sorry.
Right off the drop, we get the Cam Fowler mention in for the episode. Mark it down. Connor McDavid did exactly what he said he was going to do. He signed for a short extension.
Yes.
He signed for $12.5 million, which
is
a little bit of a surprise, but this is no doubt a message directed at the Edmonton Oilers. Get a team put together, or this will be the last 2 years that you get a chance to see me wear this uniform.
Yeah. Let's start. We'll start with that, and then we'll get to the actual contract itself. Because right, McDavid said, right, this is very much he believes in where they're going, but again, he wants to win, right? And he made it very clear that the most important thing to him right now is trying to win with this contract. And, especially with a lot of the pieces they have, they also re-signed Jake Wallman today to a 7x7 extension. Could you imagine a team just trading Jake Wallman and also attaching a second-round pick to just to get rid of Jake Wallman's contract? I could not imagine a team doing that, but and then said team flipping Jake Wallman for a first-round pick. Could you imagine doing that? Crazy work. But Connor McDavid, though, as you said, there is a 2-year time limit, right? Of what's going to happen. I guess 3 years, because this year plus 2 years. So 3 years for McDavid to go put on for McDavid to be with Edmonton and for Edmonton to continue to build around this team. Right. They re-signed. They're very active in the offseason trying to get new pieces in here, but I still think it just comes down to the goaltending. And that's what's always been with the Oilers, right? It's the goaltending, and who can you solve your goaltending issues at any point. And I think that's going to be the big question for them.
I popped in to look at the Edmonton Oilers cap situation for this year. This is not a joke. The Edmonton Oilers have $834 in cap space. Oh no. No. You obviously have
they're literally I have $3.
This is, but this we've seen this the last couple of years, is that Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, as long as they stay healthy, they've been able to take this Edmonton team to the Stanley Cup final. When you run into a more full roster, that's when the problems arise. And so, you've obviously got great players on this roster. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Zach Hyman signed both to very, very team-friendly deals. But some of the other pieces on the roster, are fair to question, I think. Like, remember how we all reacted to the Trent Frederick extension that just seemed completely unnecessary? Those are the kinds of things that a GM will look back on after they have been removed from their current position and say, boy, I wish I had that one back. And those are the parts of the roster. Those are the dollars that you have to really maximize.
Yeah. It's like you're paying almost $4 million for Trent Frederick, who's, a cromulent fourth line center. The Darnell Nurse contract, which still has 10,000 years left on it with no move clauses until at least the 28 season. You've re-signed Evan Bouchard to 4 years at $10.5 million. Like I think that contract, it will age perfectly fine for them. But that's where good teams are good, is around the edges, right? Because all great teams, they have great players, right? Like, I mean, you look at Colorado, you have Nathan McKinnon, you have Cale Makar, you have like a bunch of great players, but they're so good is because they're able to get all these other guys who are kind of pushed down, but like at least pay wise, but able to provide. Look at the Panthers, right? Having Brad Marchand on your third line last year, is a luxury because of the maneuvering that they did and the way that they were able to kind of manipulate their cap with the taxes, et cetera, et cetera. But it's when you spend $4 million on Trent Frederick, when you can get the same type of production for vet Nin right there, and then you use that $3 million somewhere else to get more scoring, to get So I don't know, but it's still, I think it just comes down to the goaltending. If they can somehow upgrade the goaltending here, like that's going to be the big thing. So I know we are a long time away, but do you think McDavid signs another contract with the Oilers, or does he become the biggest free agent in NHL history?
He becomes the biggest and most sought-after free agent in history. You're going to see both.
Right as the Sharks entering their cup contention with $1 bajillion of cap space. It's going to be weird seeing McDavid play 2C behind Celebrini, but I think it's something we can all get used to.
It is going to be jarring to see him and Austin Matthews wearing the same jersey as Connor Bedard in Chicago.
Ooh, I hate that.
I know. I vomited. I said that on yesterday's episode of Locked On Wild, and I vomited in my mouth.
Yeah.
But no, he's going to be the most sought after free agent, arguably in the history of the sport. And you think about the teams that will line up for his services and will be willing to pay him 20 plus. But this is why we are at this point as far as McDavid and the Oilers go. You win one of those cups and you're not having this conversation, but we have seen this Oilers team bet on the pieces being good enough to get it done. We just need a little better performance here. We just need a little better performance here. And they've run into the same Florida Panthers team in the last 2 years with a different look each time. Yeah. And that Florida Panthers team has been able to take them to the cleaners. I know they had the lead in the first meeting and ended up losing that series in 7, but a lot of those games, Florida just took them to the cleaners.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, where did this roster get better?
Yeah.
This offseason? It's, like, I know they're trying to reload here. And like, that's the problem, right? When you're always in this cup contention window, like at some point you start to just run out of things to trade and assets, and you have to kind of take a reset. And or make some hard decisions here. And you wonder if maybe they do try to move off a big time contract. I'm looking at you, Darnell Nurse, with a full no move clause, but you wonder if they try to do something like that and to try to move off a contract like that to give themselves some space and some flexibility to try to find other ways to build around the fringe and work around the fringe. So yeah, it's going to be like one of the biggest stories in the NHL is now this 3-year window that the Oilers have. And it may even be shorter, because if you get to a point where you realize McDavid's not going to re-sign, your job as a GM is to trade him as soon as you can, to cash in, to make sure that you get something, or else he doesn't just walk away like you don't walk away empty-handed. So,
and here's the spinoff to that. Let's say you get to the point where McDavid is like, I've enjoyed my time here, but it's time to it's time for greener pastures, quote unquote. What does Leon Draisaitl do?
Oh, I think if McDavid leaves, part of me is like, if McDavid leaves, you just burn it down. Because like at that point, like Draisaitl will be in his early 30s. Like Zach Hyman's going to be in his mid 30s. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins going to be in his mid 30s. Like at that point, I think you just start from scratch. Like you trade both those guys as hard as it is. You get back the war chest of pieces to restart your next core right there. So yeah, I think that's what you do, but it's easier said than done. So,
well, whoever makes that call will not be the current GM of the Edmonton Oilers. I can about promise you that. And not an enviable spot to be whoever would have to do that. So we're just not going to.
The teardown is the easiest part. It's yes.
We're just not going to entertain that as a possibility. What we are going to entertain is every fight in the history of the NHL that happened in the final preseason game of the season between the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. Oh boy, did we have a bunch of power plays. 25 combined between the two teams, and some discipline, but also just a lot of fighting. We'll recap the melee in Miami. Oh man, that could have worked so good, but it's not going to work this time.
Nope.
Well, I'm going to call it the melee in Miami.
You're going to hear from Armando in a strongly worded letter here for calling it Miami. That is not Miami.
We'll call it the skirmish and sunrise.
There you go.
Yeah. Let's talk about the skirmish and sunrise that's on the way as we continue today's episode of Locked On NHL right after this. Today's episode of Locked On NHL is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Now, you can do this in a variety of ways. You can pick a game and bet live during the game by taking the most popular first half under, shown to be the most popular bet there is. First half under. Keep that in mind. Or you can throw a futures bet down on your favorite team to win their division, get to the championship game, or go to the Super Bowl. Why would I throw down on the Vikings, who are plus 5,500 to win the Super Bowl, you might ask? Because I am an absolute lunatic when it comes to Minnesota sports. And I just do that to feel something. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Welcome back to today's episode of Locked On NHL. Once again, we are your team each and every day, and we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day as well. With the season getting back underway this week, we will remind you as well that we have a fantastic setup for you to get caught up on all the games going on throughout the week with Locked On NHL Game Night. every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. You can find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, let's talk about the fight in Florida. I don't know why I didn't just do that right off the bat. That was way easier than whatever I was trying to do. The fight in
That's why.
in Florida. Yeah.
That's why.
Freudian slip. FL. Same initials. The fight in Florida. There were a combined 25 power plays in this game between these two teams because evidently there's a little bit of bad blood between the two.
I am shocked.
182 penalty minutes for Tampa Bay, 140 penalty minutes for Florida. I who would have thought that the Lightning and Panthers didn't like each other? I guess we found out for the first time that they have a little bit of bad blood down there in the state of Florida.
I don't know what my favorite part about this. Actually, my favorite part is always the bench shot at the end when there's three dudes sitting on the bench and it looks like a beer league game at like 10, 11 o'clock at night, and they could barely scrape together a roster. Definitely like that. But I think actually though is the coming out of it, right? And you knew, of course, especially after what happened in the previous game when there was a bajillion penalties and Tampa player got hurt and they felt like Florida, of course, was doing Florida things as Florida does because that's what Florida does. They're a very bully type team. Then this happened, right, with all this. And then we get the suspensions today. I know Scott Sabrin got suspended. There's a couple suspensions from Mostert got suspended 2 games. Scott Sabrin got suspended 2 games. There was a bunch of Tampa fines, including the organization, which got fined $100,000. John Cooper got fined $25,000. Conclaves got fined $3,000. Schmidt got fined $2,000. And then on the Panthers, Greer gets fined $2,000. The maximum allowable by the CBA. Absolute gong show of a performance. I was keeping an eye on it over the weekend as this thing was just coming up on my Twitter feed, and just an absolute gong show of a performance. As funny as it is, we also we can't have this, right? The NHL needs to step in and be like, you guys can't do this to each other anymore. As much as you guys don't, you have to separate the siblings, right? Of being you go to your room, you're not allowed to talk to each other right now. Go cool off. Next year, you can't schedule preseason games with each other. We can't have this, right?
No, this is where a functioning Department of Player Safety would absolutely bottle this up.
Yeah.
And if there was an escalation between these two teams who play on November 15th for the first time this season, if there was an escalation, you just start slapping people with 5-game suspensions and you say, we can't do this. You have to, I've said it a lot on this show, JD, especially with you.
Yeah.
If Department of Player Safety is going to be taken seriously, you have to start setting an example of people. And so you just have to, anybody that is involved in any sort of fighting in that first matchup between these two teams, you slap them with a 5-game suspension. Because that's the only way that players are going to get in their heads okay, we can't do this. But they're not going to. I loved in the wrap-up that ESPN had that Sebouin he's going to forfeit $16,145.84, roughly $850 for every second that he played in Saturday's game.
Oh, Scott Sabrin.
Now, that for
friend of Locked On Sharks, Scott Sabrin.
Excellent. Now, that for the lay person, the normal everyday commoner, $850 a second is frightening.
Yes.
But for an NHL player, it's not as bad. Now, they don't even know if he's going to serve the suspension that he received because he was sent down to Syracuse.
He's going to be in the AHL. It doesn't matter.
But I loved
Oh,
this.
no.
I loved this nugget from Saturday's game.
Yeah.
There were so many penalties called that the on-ice crew evidently lost track of who had been kicked out. Florida's Nico Mikkola was credited with an assist midway through the third period on a goal by Jesper Boqvist that was disallowed about 15 minutes later because Mikkola was unaware that he had been ejected earlier in the period and therefore ineligible to be playing.
Amazing.
Like, how does this happen? How do we get to this point?
Part of me hopes he like went back and like swapped jerseys and like put a fake mustache on or something.
He did the Bobby Valentine and just came back onto the bench with the fake mustache.
Yes, 1000%. Absolute ridiculous. Like, and that's the good thing about preseason now. Like, one of the good things about preseason being shortening now, because like you see this with all these, teams where, especially road teams, like they tend to ice more AHL type of teams, and you have young players, you have kind of like your AHL, grinders who are trying to make a name for themselves, and they're trying to make that big hit, kind of impress somebody type of thing. And that's where you kind of get this, like, just, and like, it doesn't happen all the time, but like it definitely happens. And then you put in the bad blood between these two franchises here. So yeah, like it's a good thing the preseason is getting cut. It's way too long right now. Like these guys are too good. Like it's just a waste of everybody's time at this point. Like, yes, it sucks for some of these rookies and stuff that we're going to talk about here, but like for the most part, it's too long, and it's good. We're cutting this thing down.
Yeah, and it's, this is coming off of the previous game that these two teams played, and there were 49 penalties in that game and just 186 penalty minutes. Because here's the other part of it too. If you go the suspension route, the team cannot fill that roster spot. So if you do that to Tampa Bay and you say you had 4 guys that were suspended for 5 games, they're down 4. And you say, well, that's not fair. It's like, well, you should have thought about that before you turned it into Fight Club.
Yes.
That's
I do think there needs to be a little bit more balance to it. Like the Panthers can't get away with just like a $2,000 fine to one player. Like, I'm surprised it wasn't like make an example out of everybody. But again, as you said, that would require a functioning Department of Player Safety.
Yeah, so, you just make an example out of everybody. You hand out suspensions like you're handing out lottery tickets. And you just say, you get one, you get one, you get one. You bumped into an official trying to get into the fight, you get one too. And you're going to have some players that are like, there's no way I deserved the 5-game suspension. But then you respond by saying, you were part of it. You get the same as everybody else.
Yep.
But we don't have to worry about that because that's never going to happen.
No.
Yeah. Never. We're going to talk about
rookies.
Some rookies that are making the opening night roster. We're going to celebrate the kids that have graduated from the AHL or whatever league they were in to the NHL. So we will discuss as we finish today's episode of Locked On NHL after this.
You just realized your business needs to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast, easy? You just use Indeed. When it comes to hiring, Indeed is all you need. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other sites. Indeed sponsored jobs put your post at the top of the page and help you reach the right candidates faster. If you've ever been in a spot where you need to hire like yesterday, the pressure's on, and every day without the right person's a setback. That's exactly when Indeed sponsored jobs come in handy. They make sure your post is seen by the right candidates right now. And now you can speed up your hiring process with a $75 sponsored job credit. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, Indeed is all you need.
Final segment of today's episode of Locked On NHL. And once again, we thank you for making Locked On NHL your first listen each and every day. We are your team each and every day as well. JD, the rookies. The rookies
Yes.
are on the way for many teams throughout the NHL. And so let's celebrate some of those rookies and let's take a look at some of the names that could have big impacts this season.
Yeah, so there's for the 2025 draft, which was kind of considered to be like a down year, several players from this draft class cracked the opening night roster, but notable guys who are gonna be making potential impact this year. Yeah, Becca Seneca, who was the 3rd overall pick last year by the Anaheim Ducks. Alex Sandin Pellica from Detroit from a couple of years ago. Matthew Savoy from Edmonton. Z William, Daniel Yurov from your Wild, Brady Martin, who was the 5th pick from this year's draft, Matthew Schaefer, who was the 1st overall pick from this year's draft for the Islanders, Ben Kindle from the Pittsburgh Penguins, who's in this year's draft as well, Michael Misa and Sam Dickinson. Misa, the 2nd overall pick, and then Dickinson was the 11th overall pick from last year, both for the San Jose Sharks. You have Braden Coots for Vancouver, who was also in this year's draft. Doesn't mean all these guys are going to stick, right? But it is an accomplishment for these guys, especially these guys in this 2025 draft, to get here. And, this is a quick reminder. Most of these guys will get what the 9-game rule, right? And basically what happens is if you can play in the NHL on these contracts, on your ELCs, up to 9 games. After that 9th game, once you play your 10th game, your first year contract kicks in. So what teams will do a lot is they'll play these kids for 8 or 9 games and then decide, if they feel like they're NHL ready, they'll keep them around. If not, they'll send them back to juniors or Sweden or wherever they're supposed to go, wherever they're coming from. So that way they can finish out their year of development. So again, I don't know how many or all these guys are going to stick. I have a good feeling on some of them. I think Michael Misa is going to stick for the Sharks. I was really surprised to see Schaefer sticking around, but especially after only playing 27 games last year. So he's an interesting one if he sticks around. I know your guy Zeev. I'd be interesting to see, especially with how deep that Wild defense is, if he sticks around, if he spends some time in the AHL. But yeah, it's the NHL is in such good hands when you look at the future players are going to be starting to make an impact here, right? And there's a lot of exciting players here who are going to be future stars in the NHL. And it's fun to watch these kids kind of start this journey through here. So will any of these guys kind of stick out to you that you're a little surprised by, or just excited to watch, Wild or not Wild players?
I'm going to do you one better.
Yeah.
Here are, according to FanDuel, the Calder Trophy odds for 2025.
Which is 100% Davidov. Davidov is the
yeah.
But he played last year. That's why that's why he's not included, because he played last year. These are guys who are making NHL debuts here. Yes.
Michael Misa is plus 1,100, which is 2nd best odds.
That's 2nd. I thought he was 5th best. Okay.
No.
Okay.
It goes plus 180 for you're basically giving Vegas money to bet on Demidov at this point. Misa is part of a crowd that's at plus 1,100. That is 2nd. Zeev Boyum is plus 2,700. One that I really like, Jesper Wallstedt, is plus 6,500.
I think he's going to play enough games.
I think, the Wild have 15 back-to-backs, so he's going to play at least 15 games. But yeah, I think he'll get 20, 25. But
you look at Dustin Wolf last year couldn't even win it, and he played 50+ games, right? I went through because with Askarov is in this, right? And the goalies, how hard it is for goalies to win or even be in the final. You have to drag your team to the playoffs. You have to start 40 to 50 games type of, and your numbers of course have to be good. Like, it's so hard for goalies to be in the Calder race because a lot of it depends on team success. That's why, like, Askarov, what's Askarov's odds? But because I'm sure they're a little bit better, but like I don't like his odds because the Sharks just aren't going to have the team success. So because like he's also in the same spot, right?
I literally just saw him on here. He's plus 2,200.
Again, it's just like Dustin Wolf, right? Last year, basically drugged the Flames to, just missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
And yeah, like a lot of, unfortunately with goalies, like it's a tough ask for the Calder because that's what they look to, right? Is, how many games did you win and how good was your team with you? So yeah, I don't like goalie Calder odds. Sorry, buddy.
Very rude.
I know. I'm saving you money to bet on the Vikings.
Don't talk to me about that. Oh my gosh. just rip every Band-Aid off and just pour salt water directly onto the wound. Obviously I'll be watching the Wild contingent of rookies, but somebody in the division, a few of these players that I'm intrigued to see what Isaac Howard does. He was kind of we don't have enough room at the inn player for Tampa Bay. And he knew that. So he's like, I don't want to play here. So what does he do with his opportunity? I mean, I just have always been kind of a Seattle, like Seattle is kind of my second team. So what do we get from Berkeley Catton? What do we get from him in his first real taste of the NHL? Does he even play? That'll be something that's intriguing as well. A lot of these guys, you're right on. A lot of these guys are going to get just a little sample size to kind of track their progress now, see where they're at, and then they go to the AHL and they work on the areas they need to work on.
Or back to juniors, which unfortunately, one of those guys who's kind of stuck in that NHL juniors thing, Becca Seneca, who I mentioned earlier, the third overall pick. He's the guy I'm really interested. I watched him a little bit last year with Oshawa. I got to watch him in the preseason as the Ducks and the Sharks played a bunch of times too. And he's the guy I'm really interested to see if he can stick on a team that's supposed to be good, like better. Has a lot of young talent, also has some veteran guys. Like, I'm curious to see Beckett Seneca and if he's able to stick long term with the Ducks this year. That's a guy I'm interested. I'm intrigued with him because kid's got a lot of skill. So
the Oilers could use him to fill out their bottom six.
What's Cam Fowler doing?
Being
living in that new contract life.
Yeah, being amazing and spending all that money somewhere. That's what he's doing.
Probably saving puppies and orphans with that money.
He's definitely not fighting. Again, George Peros, if you're listening, just start throwing. Just throw fines and suspensions at people.
Use that clip for the face-off season 3 guys, right?
Yeah. Fight.
Yes.
Trying to get the best of both worlds. So that's our episode for today, which you may see in a future NHL documentary on a streaming service, depending on what happens this year. But we'll have you covered every step of the way, as only Locked On can do. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any new episodes throughout the week. We've got them for you right here at Locked On NHL. We are your team every day.